There are times when the right response can be in the form of inflicting damage on some person who is not ready, just not ready to understand any other language. How come a country on the brink of bankruptcy like Pakistan affording to fight a war in these circumstances, such an expensive war? India is far too big to be engaged in war. The army benefits when Pakistan gets destroyed. So the more Pakistan gets destroyed, the more enemy says, see, make us more powerful. The army says, make us more powerful. Because here you see, the enemy has such nefarious intentions and the enemy is bombing us. The enemy wants to invade our land, occupy us, rule us. So you make us more powerful. The reality is that these two conflicts, other conflicts as well, but especially these two, are actually founded on religion. There are times when the right response can be in the form of inflicting damage on some person who is not ready, just not ready to understand any other language. The prime example of this is the Mahabharata and the corresponding discourse of the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Krishna himself tried in all ways possible to have reconciliation and peace with Duryodhan. He even went to the extent of saying that you offer us just 5 villages for the 5 Pandavas, and we will be satisfied with that. दो न्याय अगर तो आधा दो, उसमें भी अगर कोई बाधा हो तो दे दो, केवल 5 ग्राम रखो अपनी धरती तमाम. Duryodhan was not ready even for that much. And then this war was imposed on the Pandavas, and they said, right, this is the war that you want us to fight. We didn't want to fight. We know you are our brethren, you are our half brothers. We don't want to fight you. But if this is what you want, then we'll have to fight. So it is not as if war is necessarily forbidden. What is forbidden is unconsciousness. What is forbidden is an ego-driven response. What is forbidden is bloodlust. I would just want to kill all of the enemy side. I want to see blood flowing. I want to see them totally destroyed. That is forbidden. Because, not just because of morality, but because when you have that emotional, ego-driven bloodlust riding your head, then you totally forget what you are doing to yourself. Totally forget that. For example, let me initiate with a few numbers. One fighter jet costs upwards of rupees 2,500 crore. A country engaged in war loses one jet and is pegged down by 2,500 crores. One battle tank, a modern battle tank, costs rupees 100 crores. One day of full-blown conventional war costs 30,000 to 50,000 crores, and this includes just the cost of the ammunitions, the logistics, the fuel, the infrastructural damage, and the disruption of normal economic activity in the country. Only these things. I am yet not counting or putting a number to the economic cost of fatalities, to the loss of human lives. It's a humongous number. It's a big number. It's a big number even for India. But when you think of a country like Pakistan, whose economy is 9 or 10 times smaller than that of India, this number is extremely big. Now that becomes mind-boggling. How come a country on the brink of bankruptcy like Pakistan affording to fight a war in these circumstances, such an expensive war? India is far too big to be engaged in war from the perspective of a smaller country like Pakistan. They are doing it because they are not really a democracy. They have never really been a democracy. Even today, they do have a democratic setup, but it's the army that calls the shots, right? And the army benefits when Pakistan gets destroyed. You see, what is the reason behind their existence? What is their very logic to exist? They say we have an enemy there and we exist as somebody separate from the enemy. We have broken away from India. That's the two-nation theory. So the more Pakistan gets destroyed, the more enemy says, see, make us more powerful. The army says, make us more powerful. Because here you see, the enemy has such nefarious intentions and the enemy is bombing us. The enemy wants to invade our land, occupy us, rule us. So you make us more powerful, right? We are not really fighting Pakistan. We have to understand. We are fighting the Pakistani army. We are fighting the Pakistani army. And the Pakistani army is not a well-wisher of the Pakistani nation. Forget about them having any kind of right intentions towards any other country, including India. They don't have right intentions even towards Pakistan. Otherwise, they wouldn't have engaged in this war. So you are dealing with that kind of a state. They know they cannot grow beyond a point. Probably they have given up on themselves. They don't even want to grow beyond a point. But India does not want to be confined to just this region, right? We have global ambitions. You want to be a global power, and global power not just in military sense or hegemonic sense. You want to be a global power in the sense that you are a research hub. Your quality of life is wonderful. You are up there on HDI. People want to look at you, emulate you. You are the center of creativity and innovation. That's what India wants to be. Pakistan does not even want to be that. So the very objectives are different. They want to pull us down to their level, and we must resist that. We must be very, very cautious against that. So while definitely, even from the point of view of spirituality, there is a movement to start a war, there must also be a movement to simply unilaterally stop a war. Now that appears very difficult, because when you say unilateral, then obviously you are giving the enemy some kind of advantage. But you have to also remember that the enemy and their backers, they are gloating if they drag India into this. Think of China. A conventional war, if it sets you back by 10 or 20 years. Today we are saying we want to accelerate in terms of GDP, in all other terms, in terms of becoming a manufacturing hub, in terms of increasing your exports. Today we are saying that we want to match China in the next 20 years, let's say. Forget about matching China. What China is doing through Pakistan is that it wants to put you back by another 20 years and thereby increase the difference between itself and India. We must not allow that to happen, right? So, while it is impractical and also not spiritual to respond to the call of war when the time comes, when all sincere measures towards peace fail, yes, then you have to fight. Yes, you have to. But you must also be very, very careful. You must watch out that your reaction must not become egoistic, that your reaction must not become ego-driven, that you do not allow the enemy to rule your head. Because that's where the real warfare happens, right? They want to get into your head. They want to make you mad. And they want to turn it into a spectacle. On your TV screen or on social media, you are watching these are rockets raining and there's just so much fire. It looks almost like a video game, an entertainment. And the public forgets that all this is happening through its own money, through the taxpayers' money. And that amount, imagine, one fighter jet costs rupees 2,500 crore. That amount should have gone into nation building ideally. And that is what will make you beyond any kind of war. Today, nobody will go to attack America. There is so much deterrence. Why? Not just because they have nuclear bombs, but because fundamentally they are very, very economically advanced, technologically advanced, and academically advanced. That is what makes a nation invincible. We want great research institutions. We want a great economy. We want to be ahead in technology. And that's when you really can say that nobody is going to come and inflict a war on us. Pakistan, China, and many other such forces, they do not want India to reach that spot. So they'll keep you engaged in this low kind of abrasive warfare, which prevents you from achieving your potential, right? So we have to realize at some point that continuing to fight is not in our best interests. We must know that the enemy has now been punished, and now through political and international and diplomatic measures, we can slowly allow the temperatures to subside and let things cool down. If, for example, in the public domain, you are finding only hawks, you are not finding composed, level-headed discussions, then there is reason to be alerted. If you find, because in a democracy, you see, the government has to follow the people. The opinion of the people, that in some sense starts becoming binding on the government as well. So if the people are being instigated all the time, then that's red alert. Please see what we are seeing on TV channels and social media, right? People are turning rabid. It's a bloodlust ruling their head. Then you should know that we are losing our sense of perspective, and that we might be now surrendering our thinking faculty to the real enemy. He does not want you to think. He wants you to be your own enemy, a fellow, a nation that cannot peacefully think, decide, have vivek, discretion, becomes its own enemy. We must not allow that to happen. See, practically, what's going to happen is that when Pakistan starts to find that the cost of war is unbearable, probably it will be forced, because there will be no other option. You don't have the money to pay for the war, then it will be forced to probably scale the whole thing down. That is one thing. There will be diplomatic efforts, there will be international pressures in a connected global system. It's not just two countries that fight. It's the entire world that suffers, and everybody is a stakeholder. There are supply lines global supply lines that pass through India, and if there is a war, they'll be disrupted, and that would mean that the entire world is going to suffer. India has become an important part of world economy also. So there will be international diplomatic pressure, and in some sense, you will have a temporary kind of, you could call it a ceasefire or peace, whatever, till the whole thing erupts the next time. So that's one kind of peace. But real peace, it would sound a little impractical as I speak of it right now, but that's the only real solution, even if it sounds impractical. See, the whole thing is happening in the name of religion. Please understand. The whole thing starts with the two-nation theory, or the feeling behind, or the misinterpretation behind the two-nation theory, right? We exist, Pakistan says, we exist in animosity to India. We exist because we cannot live with the Hindus. That's the only reason we exist. Otherwise, India was one. So as long as there is this misinterpretation, this distorted version of religion ruling, and to be fair, not only on that side of the border, even on this side of the border, as long as this distortion remains, stable peace, permanent peace will be very difficult to achieve. It may appear that the central thing is the Kashmir issue, or you could name a few other pending issues between the two countries. Between Israel and Palestine, you could say, well, the problem is Gaza, or the problem is Hamas. But that's not the reality. The reality is that these two conflicts, other conflicts as well, but especially these two, are actually founded on religion. Unless the essence of religion is clearly brought out, stable peace will be very difficult to achieve, and that's where wisdom literature comes in. That's where spirituality comes in. A person, a nation that really understands why he exists, why the nation exists, will be far less prone to warmongering. Those who do not know who they are the ones mostly greatly interested in war. They are also the ones who wage war against the whole planet in the form of, let's say, climate change. I do not know who I am, so I have to do something to feel as if I am meaningful. So what do I do? Think of the Pakistani army. What do I do? Nothing else to do. Pinch that one, poke that one, hurt that one, shoot that one down, and that makes you feel relevant. Think of it. Who was talking of Pakistan till 10 days back, or let's say 15 days back, before Pahalgam? Nobody. Pakistan was becoming more and more irrelevant. Even in the Indian consciousness, nobody was talking of Pakistan. Now you're talking of Pakistan. In some sense, they have succeeded. They wanted a piece of your mind, and they got it. And that's a very big thing to ask for, no? When I don't know who I am, then I exist in somebody else's eyes. I want his attention. Pakistan got your attention. Be it a person or a nation. When you don't have the right inner purpose to live for, then you become someone who clamors for others' attention in such barbaric and violent ways even. So unless we first of all move within ourselves and discover a right purpose to live for, we'll find that we'll be involved in all kinds of battles, personal, social, international, unfortunately.